Go live.
Yeah. I have to jump on the old tubage. There she is. Ooh.
Woot
Ad.
woot. Yeah.
Oh, this is a cool ad.
Kilgore Void, you have now become idolized by Eons of Battle. I like the framework here, fellas.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah, it's a little different from yesterday.
All right. My printer just finished. I'm printing one of those 3D printing guns.
I don't know how I feel about those. On the one hand, it's it's against the rules. You're not supposed to 3D print a gun. But
what if you need a gun?
I don't know. I mean, it's not like you can just download a gun and shoot it. You still need to find bullets.
No.
You need something made of metal to set off the bullet.
Yep. Well, I have my 3D printer that prints metal too.
Ah. Well, but that's no good then, because then you just have a regular gun. Like, the point of a 3D printing gun is it's plastic and no one can tell you have it.
Well, my metal 3D printer is not that good, so maybe you shouldn't prejudge me and what I'm doing.
Significantly less clown blood. Yes, there is. Speaking of there is, I need something to put my weathering pigment in.
All right. Hey, Void 16. Got to get all my windows in place. I can't paint my kill teams today. I have to do a little bit of Illustrator work for an upcoming video.
Oops, gotta put these back on.
Hey, Lucky Bat.
If you want an interesting take on it, I highly recommend Forgotten Weapons video on the Ludi machine gun. Oh, I love Forgotten Weapons. I'll definitely check that out.
Oops. Speaking of that. All right.
But yeah, on the one hand, you're definitely breaking the rules. 3D printing guns. So I don't know. I guess if you can 3D print a gun, then there's no point in registering guns. But you're not going to take down the government with a 3D printed gun.
Not with that attitude.
I don't think you are. I don't think you're taking down a gun with the best thing you can get at Bass Pro.
I'm 3D printing a tank, though.
I think those days of the ideals of the Second Amendment are kind of done. Now that we have like invisible attack aircraft and stuff.
I 3D printed one of those as well.
Hey, Doom's here.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a lot.
I love a good old Doom. Yeah, keep mixing that. A little mixing ASMR.
Doing a lot of airbrushing today, and I think it irritated my eyes. There's my
You
trick though.
irritated my
My
eyes.
trick though is 30 minutes of rubbing. It will fix any eye problem, right?
Yes. Especially allergic reactions and mace.
Yeah. Yeah, you really get in there with your knuckles.
Get in there with the old knuckles. Yeah, Killer Void with a pro tip. Pro tip, don't airbrush your face. Yeah, what were you doing?
I'm testing out some different materials. Like I got some terrain, and so I also got my airbrush, but I don't have the adapter, so I'm using my my old airbrush, which is fine. I'll just use up that the broken needle and nozzle I have in there. I tried out some Vallejo chipping medium that I didn't know I owned, and it worked beautifully. And now I'm trying oils.
Wow. Any successes?
A little bit, like literally, I just did it before turning the camera on. It looked really nice. I should have mixed maybe burnt umber with black because it was a little bit
Bright?
It was a little bit
Saturated?
too not different enough. Because I put burnt umber on like tan, like a dark tan, and it kind of just looks like it's a little dirty. As opposed to like really dirty. So I'll probably hit it again with some more, with like a 50-50 mix. But it seemed like it worked really nicely. And oils, I didn't expect it. Because I remember working with oils, I don't know, maybe in high school. And they're like, I remember them being chunky. But today working with them, it's exactly the same as regular paint. It's just thinned with spirits instead of water. And it takes a lot longer to dry.
Dr. Drokel. I think the only thing I don't like about these minis are that the base surfaces are so different from one another, they don't feel like they belong together. But I do like the sculpts of the bases.
That's what I like the best about them. Although I might feel differently, I guess, if I was playing the game. But as just painting these to have nice things, I like the getting the different bases. Because for me, they're almost like little statues that I'm painting. I mean, if they were for gaming, they'd be little statues. It's not like you have options. But I like having different bases. I think the dog and the guy were actually supposed to be on similar bases, but I painted them so differently. Because I want them to be different. Ooh, Doom. So I decided for my Chaos Knights that I would paint 3 of them to match the different Chaos Legions. I got my Iron Warriors 1 done, so now I just have to pick 2 more. Wow! That's a big-ass model. I feel like you weren't talking about that long ago. So that's some good turnaround.
Yeah, that is pretty quick. They're not little statues until you plinth them.
And put leaves on them, yes.
Of course.
Oops.
Just wanted to say that.
So I should talk about what I'm doing. I put black weathering powder on his armor, and now I'm going to wipe a lot of it off with some alcohol. And so hopefully it's going to be a lot like washing, but with a little bit more control. Oop, that wasn't. Ah, well. The alcohol probably won't hurt that. It's kind of weird what will and won't hurt the paint. Like a little bit of alcohol splashed here and there, as long as you don't touch it, it shouldn't lift up the acrylic paints. But it's probably not a bad idea to varnish before you do steps like this. But as long as you're gentle, like if you're taking a toothbrush to it, you should definitely varnish.
I only paint with toothbrushes.
Yeah, but just a nice soft brush like this, I don't think I'm gonna have any issues. I say that, and all of a sudden, like one sweep just takes it right back to down to bare resin.
But on the whole model and the base for some reason.
Yeah. Some nice standout wash on the base wood floor. Board grain. What did you use? I gave it a very light, a really watered down coat of green, something like a mid-tone green, and then I hit it with Games Workshop's contrasts, snakebite leather, I think.
Can we get a toothbrush painting tutorial?
We can't. I've seen. I was watching. What inspired me to finally get some oil paints was Ninjon's video, which I don't even know if he used. He used AK Interactive, which is an oil-based paint. He didn't use just classic painting oils like I'm using. But
we watched that. We watched that one guy with the yellow Space Marines.
Yeah, and that guy.
That guy.
Whatever his name is.
I don't remember his name.
But Ninjon is a big fan of using the Q-tips, and I tried using a Q-tip, got nothing. Nothing. Had absolutely no success. Switch to a brush, no problem. Goob's video. Oh yeah, what was his video today? I remember seeing it in my recommendeds.
It was something with do you need primer? Do you like actually need primer? Something about primer?
Yeah. I bet you don't. I bet if you give your base coat an hour or two to like properly cure, I bet, and then you varnish at the end, I bet you're not gonna have any problems.
Basically testing if you need varnish / primer.
I know a lot of people don't like varnish. I think you gotta varnish. I don't know. Maybe people are a lot more careful than I am with their finished minis. I feel like I don't very often pick things up by the base. I drop stuff. Cheeto dust fingers, beer fingers.
Beer fingers. Butterfingers.
Yeah, like when it gets time to play, I don't think I'm so careful with my models.
Or sober.
Well, yeah, that's step one of any game. You know, you booze it up.
Hey, Craig Turpin. He only tested plastic, saying metal and resin may have different results.
I see why he did that, though. Most people are working with plastics, and yeah, resins and metals are very different. It would have been a whole nother video probably to do those, because they're going to behave super different to plastic. Maybe that's just a little job security. He's going to have another video out.
Ooh.
I actually am Goobertown Hobbies, and I can tell you that he's got another video in the pipeline.
Wow. When were you going to tell me?
Mm-hmm. You sure about that? McCrag Blue Rattle can all of your Space Marines. Sounds like a perfectly good way to start some Space Marines. Yes, metal needs primer badly. Most acrylics just don't adhere well over time. Yeah, I've had paint come off with like a really well primed metal model. I mean, you really gotta be careful with metal models. Gotta put on the white gloves.
Gotta
And then
wash
their
the Cheeto dust off.
their own weight works against them. Like I've like just like my painting my metal dreadnought, just having it tip over on my desk led to a lot of paint and primer coming right off and like just denting itself.
Mm-hmm.
Can I create a satin varnish if I mix matte and gloss varnish? A little bit. If you mix satin and matte, you're just gonna get a little bit less satin. I've found. What I typically do is I find like a satin varnish will give me really good protection, and then it'll also just show me exactly what it's gonna do to my colors. Or it'll make my colors really, really bright. And then I'll take a matte varnish, and then I'll spray that top down. Because to help knock down the shininess a little. But sometimes if I put on the matte or the satin varnish and it looks great, I don't bother with the matte. Because the matte is gonna give an almost imperceptible frostiness to the model. It's gonna make your blacks look a little bit gray. It's gonna make your colors just a little less vibrant. So I go hard with the satin, and then I'm very selective with the matte. I can attest to varnish being very useful considering I dropped one of my models on concrete and the paint held firm.
And you like to sleep with your models in your bed.
Yes, I do.
Which we've established previously, so that also helps with that.
Correct, Turpin. So satin and zenithal matte. Yes, kinda. I mean, it's not a strict formula. If if I spray the model and it's looking a little bit too shiny, I spray it with matte top down, because I'm trying to matte the areas where like your eye sees, but I don't just want to blast the whole model with matte. And I find the matte, the gloss, and the satin are kind of pretty well formulated, and so it's not like a paint where you can water them down or mix them. You kind of have to use them on their own. Varnish your models painted using Vallejo, because if you just look at your models, the paint will just smear off. I don't know if that's true, Dave Dog, or else you're using Vallejo paints kind of weirdly. I find sometimes Vallejo paints need a lot more thinning. They can go on a little thick. Although some Vallejo paints are probably a little thicker maybe than GW. You also have to be careful of some of the Vallejo colors really like to separate.
Mm-hmm.
So you might just be painting with separated pigments. Does anyone know for sure what the Army Painter anti-shine is? I assume it's a varnish, but I've abstained from using it because I have Vallejo. Anti-shine? It sounds like a matte varnish, but yeah, that's a weird way to say it. Although our Army Painter has definitely kind of made itself into a hobby brand as opposed to an artist brand, and I think that's probably a good move on their part.
It's probably smart.
Vallejo is very artsy fartsy.
Mm-hmm. It's for fartists.
Yeah. Battle literally says anti-shine. How is Vallejo yellow? Not great. The only brand I've had good experiences with yellows is Privateer Press P3. I think all the yellows they sell, and they're great. Mm-hmm. Yellow is a tricky color. If you actually go to like a really nice art store and you buy really nice yellows for, they sometimes more expensive than other paints, because I think the yellow pigment is more expensive. And so a lot of companies that have like, oh, every single paint's the same price, because that's what consumers expect, they have to make do with kind of using a little less, or using different pigments to get by. Like sometimes if you see a yellow paint separate, you'll see like grays and other colors in it.
What do you think they make yellow paint out of?
I don't know. Cadmium? Isn't that it? Why does cadmium yellow sound correct? No, you know what it is? It's yellow cake uranium.
Ah, that makes sense.
I primed my Elfheim Eagles with white primer painted with 97% GW and 3% Vallejo leather for the Blood Bowl ball, and the Blood Bowl ball peeled off a bit at the tip where I touched it. The GW paints held firm. If it peeled, you're probably putting the paint on way too thick. Also, it could be a situation where Vallejo paints have a longer cure time. Because once paint has cured, it shouldn't be like soft like that. Kaz2598, I have given up my attempt on non-metallic metals. What is your go-to for metallics? Ooh. Well, I like Games Workshop Leadbelcher and Runefang Steel. Those are good silvers. Vallejo has a couple of good metallics, but also a couple of bad metallics. GW Golds suck dick. They're really bad. They're really bad.
Yeah, they're not great.
Vallejo Golds are okay. I have an Army Painter Gold, which it's pretty darn thin, but it's nice and shiny. Metallics are very tricky.
What about liquid gold?
The liquid golds are very nice. Vallejo liquid golds, which are alcohol-based paints. They're very nice, but they're also kind of a pain in the ass because they're alcohol-based, and they rust really easily. So you have to varnish them. I have models that I painted with Vallejo liquid gold that have rusted. Just from being, in the air. So it's very important to varnish those. Chokes on sandwich. Hey. Runefang Steel and Leadbelcher are good metallics. I know, Dave Dog. I know. People have very mixed opinions on those. Although they don't. The Leadbelcher is one of the most sold GW paints they sell. So plenty of people are doing good work with it. But, yeah, I guess some people don't seem to be able to figure it out.
Hey, Zerg619.
But, I've never had Leadbelcher need 2 coats. And it goes on nice. It's not like it goes, one thick, soupy coat. It's like one really nice coat of paint.
I have a soupy coat.
Mm-hmm.
It's just bags of soup that I wear as a coat.
Vallejo Metal Color is the god of metal colors. I don't know if I've tried that range. That's not just regular ass like Vallejo Game Color, chainmail and silver and gunmetal, is it? Is the Vallejo Metal Color a specific thing? I'm using Runefang Steel right now on this model.
Vallejo Metal Color is a different line.
Mm. I think it's very interesting. I think that a lot of like the really, really pro painters seem to kind of grow out of using true metallic metals in favor of non-metallic metals, probably for the control. But it kind of makes sense though. Like if you imagine like a picture of something shiny, the picture isn't shiny.
Right. Or like paintings.
Or all paintings, yeah.
Yeah, in the 1600s. They definitely didn't have a Leadbelcher to paint with.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty funny if they did, though.
Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, though, you got to get minis painted. And true metallic metals can look pretty darn good.
Jim, but don't get me started on Averland Sunset. I've hated doing hazard stripes with that.
Oh, is that the Games Workshop yellow?
Yeah.
That one sucks dick, too.
I have that paint. I have that paint right in my hand right now.
Not that there's anything wrong with sucking dick, but it's just what that paint does.
Yeah. And it doesn't do a good job.
No. Never tried the Molotov Liquid Chrome. Looks amazing. I'd like to try it on some prop pieces one day. I have a Molotov Liquid Chrome pen, and I've used it on my Stormtrooper and Star Wars Bandai figures, and it is a legitimate chrome. It's very, very nice. The only problem is, to get a really nice chrome, you have to apply it on a very glossy surface. So if you just put it on a model, it's not going to look as chrome. It's just going to look very bright silver.
Shiny and chrome, shiny and chrome.
Yeah, Dragon Slaying Robin. Ronin. I've actually been experimenting with using Lead Belcher as a base coat and tinting it a gold color using Naz Drag Contrast Paint with good results. Yeah, that sounds like it would work.
Yep. Good old burp, yep. How come Spain gets all the cool hobby stories?
Yeah, that's kind of true. They like to hog it. Thank you, Kilgore Void. I love the fur gradient this dog has. Yeah, it turned out. One thing I wanted to try out with pigments is I have this glue that is meant for gold leaf.
What?
And
why do you have that?
because it was in the bargain bin at Michael's Arts and Crafts for like $1, and it sounds just about right, like a mildly tacky glue.
Mm-hmm.
So let's give this a shot.
Not to be confused with tacky glue.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's favorite glue.
Ooh, yeah, it looks just like how I wanted it to be. It looks very, very, very thin. What does it smell like? It kind of just smells like matte medium.
Can you give it a taste test real quick?
I don't know if I want to.
I don't know. Someone sounds like a chicken nugget. Unfashionable glue. Chug it, you coward.
Spain is very good for paints and hobby accessories. I would say #1 in the world. Not the best for miniature mass production, though. Although you got Anvil Industries. Or no, wait, they're in France, aren't they?
It's one of those.
Yeah, one of those not, no freedom places. Not like here in the good old US of A.
Yeah, I'm draped in my flag right now.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Wearing my red, white, and blue Speedo.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect them to understand a little thing called freedom.
Oh, man.
Raging Heroes is French. Ooh, this stuff is really sticky. The Speedball Metal Leaf Adhesive. It's all over my hands now. You know what? Let me use a crappy brush for this, not one of my best ones.
Oh, interesting.
Ooh, you know what? I just bought a bunch of brushes today, so let me use one of those.
Ooh.
I mean, they're not good brushes. They're synthetics. I was going to use them with the oils. It was like $5 for 10 of them. But let's give this stuff a try. I've never heard of this, but it sounds right. Using gold leaf glue for pigments. Gold leaf is a very, very delicate material that is applied very carefully. So are weathering pigments. And if this doesn't work, well, it's just going to look kind of bad. But I don't like to do test pieces. I like to live dangerously.
Craig Turpin, I bought a space zombie pack from My Mini Factory. I spent a good 90 minutes installing supports on one figure. Not fun. Yep. That's why I love the Cobra mode minis, because they come pre-supported, which I find very nice.
Alright, and what pigment will I use?
Orange.
No.
Purple.
No.
Red.
I'm going to use some burnt umber to get me started.
That's what I said, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I think this is good. All right. Hmm. Yeah, that's looking interesting.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's brown.
Mm-hmm.
Let me try putting on a little bit more. Looks like it didn't take to the feet.
Mm.
Or maybe I just let it dry.
Mm. Ah, yes, Craig. Looking for pre-supported minis from now on. But sometimes you just don't get lucky. Here, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to grab my 3D print
Ooh.
real quick. Oh boy. Interesting.
Ooh, that was kind of a lot.
That's what they say about me when I exit a room.
Alright, well, I think I can live with that. I think I have to do a little bit more experimenting with this gold leaf stuff. I also have... Oop, tried to put the wrong thing on. I also have pigment binder, which is like what you're supposed to use.
We're gonna use that on the other one?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. All right.
Dog just got skunked again. Probably not. But you never know.
Nope, just angry.
Oh my goodness.
There must be a baby outside
Mm-hmm.
by itself walking around.
Yeah.
You know, at almost 10 at night.
I've looked into 3D scanners so I can copy miniature bits and cough entire ones, and the tech isn't quite there yet. Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Yeah. Not yet.
I mean, once that exists, holy moly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah,
people just
then-
copy anything.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. I want a copy of me. I want a mini me.
Do you think
could
if
sell-
that technology existed, where it could you could perfectly 3D scan everything, do you think we'd see a resurgence in hand sculpting? Because you could just scan it?
No, I bet people would scan real life objects and then they would digitally modify them.
Mm. Jay, put the cap on the gold leaf glue tight. In my experience, it has a bad tendency to dry out once it's opened. I can believe it. It's very, very thin glue.
3D scan my waifu. Exactly, Joey Flores.
I don't know. There's something to be said for making art from scratch. I agree, Kilgore Void. There's no money in it, though.
Oh no.
No, there is money in it, just not a lot.
Ah, you saved it.
Boy, this dog's walking through a sulfur field.
Well, well, do you want to make money or make art? Two different things.
Yes, that is a very good point, whoever said that.
Mm-hmm.
Kilgore Void. The 3D waifu miniature market would explode. The technology does exist right now, actually, and because that was one of the reasons why PT being canceled was so heart-crushing. What is PT?
PT Cruiser? Primordial treason? Dr. Drokel. Jay's floor is nothing but blown off pigments.
Yeah. I sweep twice a year.
Off.
The pigments are the cleanest part of this floor.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, I'm cleaning it when I blow off excess pigments.
Mm-hmm.
Kilgore Void. My family is angry at me because I'm not making money with my paper crafts, and I love making art. Families are never going to understand until they see a paycheck.
That's true. Or a couple.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. PT, you mean that Silent Hill tech demo?
Is Silent Hill the game where people mod in like nudity? I think it is.
Sure hope so.
I mean, every game has that, but I'm like in Silent Hill, it's like, you know, it's what they do.
I can't wait for the Eons of Battle game.
Yeah.
Well, nudity will come pre-installed.
Yes. You'll actually
Become
have to go
pre-nudes.
into options and turn it off if you don't want it. So it's going to come pre-enabled.
Mm-hmm. The feature you never knew you didn't want.
I'm thinking of Skyrim. I know that there's like nudity mods for Skyrim and Fallout, because those games are just nothing but modding.
And because you have them pre-installed. Or you have them installed.
I couldn't figure out how to do mods in Fallout. I tried.
Mm-hmm.
I was too scared of breaking my game, though.
Mm. That's what someone that has the nudity mod would say.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we got kind of a cold dirt for the guy, a hot dirt for the dog, and then I think for the flooring, I'm just gonna throw on some
Joe Dirt.
David Spade. Well, I think I'll do red rust on the metal. I guess for Kill Team, a squat conversion would be played as standard Astra Militarum. You could probably do Space Marines too. Or if they were badass enough, they could be Adeptus Custodes.
Ooh.
On about squats on like Daka Daka or Bolter and Chainsword or anything. Are there any? Does anyone have good examples of like a classic squat army? Because I don't think I've ever seen one. I've just seen models, like every now and then on eBay or one-offs on like Google image results.
Like a beautifully finished,
Yeah.
completed.
Never seen a squat metal mini army. Yeah, me neither. Oops, don't want to do that. Wrong brush. This might be a big mistake, but here goes.
You mean squat squads?
Mm-hmm. Drill tanks and trains. I've seen all the squat units in Epic 40K. I don't think squats lasted long enough to get many vehicles.
Has anyone? Well, I mean, I guess there has been reimagined ones. Has anyone done a full reimagined army of the squats? Like what it would look like now if Games Workshop were to pick it up?
They had to take the squats out because they would have just won every game. Need a little bit of glue.
Squared. Someone's angry today.
Mm-hmm. Well, my sister's home, so she can probably check on him.
Mm-hmm. Maybe this is the first time they're actually warning you of something for like real danger.
That would be really funny.
And the stream just ends abruptly.
And Rattlings, wasn't it? It all left over from making Warhammer Fantasy in Space. I'm kind of glad though that it changed from just Tolkien in space. Although it would have been fun to have like Tolkien-esque things. I think it's they've struck a nice balance of new stuff. a little bit too rusty. They're barking at a Wendigo. There were a couple of rattlings made for Blackstone Fortress, or was it Kill Team? I think it was Blackstone Fortress. It was definitely Blackstone Fortress. I'm sort of sure.
See you later, Craig. Turpin.
Good night.
Oh, I love that teddy bear.
So I put on black pigment powder, and now I'm putting on red and orange pigment powder to represent the rust, and then I'm probably going to go back to my Rune Fang steel and paint that on top of everything, just so that there's a hint of the rust, but it's not overpowering. There's a pretty easy way to do rust with just paint though, and that's just to use bright orange and stipple it on. But I don't know, I feel like that would be hard to do at this scale. This guy's small. I mean, that base is the size of a quarter.
Yeah, it's a small one. And so you're using the actual basing glue or whatever it is?
Yeah, now I'm using the actual... Well, that was just Elmer's glue to put it on the dog. I don't know what I'm doing with pigment powder. It's very tricky. A lot of things do a lot of different work. Bright teddy bear gives a nice contrast to the dog color. Yeah, it's his friend.
I want another model where the he's carrying the bear.
Aww.
That'd be pretty cute. Like all armored up and everything. And carrying the cute little bear.
It's time to break out the alcohol again and remove a little bit of this.
Take a swig for me.
Oh, it's isopropyl, so.
Yeah, I said what I said.
Oh, I did use glue on this though, so I wonder what's going to happen. It still kind of comes off. Another thing though that the alcohol does is it kind of activates the pigment, and it just kind of turns into paint and then dries. So, yeah, pigments are crazy. The nice thing about pigments, though, is any operation you can do to like the entire model or an entire area that's going to get really, really good results for very little inputs are very nice. Like I could have panel edged all of these pieces of metal and then slowly built up layers of paint. But if I can pull this off with the pigments, I don't have to do any of that. You can save myself a lot of time and still get a very nice effect. And on that note, gang, it is 10:01.
Yeah. We have a video coming out tomorrow. That'll be a good one.
Why use an isopropyl to thin down your paints? Are they oil paints using? No, I'm using the alcohol on weathering pigments, just because it dries almost instantly. So I have a few seconds of kind of working with the pigments, and then basically as I've cleaned my brush, it dries, and then I can hit it again with the alcohol. If I was using water, I'd have to wait probably a couple of minutes in between passes.
Killer Void. Remember, if you're on Patreon, you'll know what the videos are in advance.
Yeah.
That is true.
All right, folks.
Yeah.
Good night. Big video
Good
coming
night.
out. What day is today? Tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow.
Big ol'